Hi everyone, Death Metal Antichrist here, back with a brand new video. Now, since it being the month of October, I thought it was only fitting that I discuss my favourite horror movies. Now, I'm going to do a couple more horror movie themed videos for October, then I'm just going to get back to my usual metal content, because that's what everyone's here for, that's what I do, that's my passion, and that's just the point of the channel. But for October, we're going to be doing some Halloween slash horror movie kind of videos, so yeah. Alright, so for my favourite horror movies, number one is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. Now, what I find about this is it's a movie that I never really get tired of watching. Even though on my fucking shelf horror movies shit there, it's nowhere to be found. Honestly, it's honestly one of my favorite horror movies of all time, just because of how fucking it looks like they don't look like for the time this was like because people at the time thought The Exorcist was fucking horrific, and then this came out and fucking shocked everyone, and it was on the Video Nasties, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's like it's inspirational in the world of horror. So yeah, now my second favorite is the original Halloween. I fucking love this movie. It's another movie that I never get tired of watching. I fucking could watch it like 5 times in a row and I wouldn't get tired. It's honestly a fucking landmine in the history of horror movie history. It like it essentially like got the slasher movie genre to get like really super fucking big, and I commend it for that, because that's honestly my favorite horror movies. That's honestly my favorite type of horror movies. So, yeah, and I reckon it's one of the best. Now, number three, John Carpenter's The Thing. This is just incredibly well made with a great soundtrack, made by one of the best directors ever, John Carpenter, who also made Halloween. Halloween Ends I'm seeing tomorrow too. So, yeah, it's got the hands down the best special effects in all of horror movie history, and it has great suspense. Kurt Russell has great acting in it. It's honestly a great movie, and I fucking love it. Now, where were we? Number four. Number four is Friday the 13th, Part 4. This movie, it's my favorite Friday the 13th movie because I feel like it embodies everything that the movie franchise is. And it helps that Tom Savini came back to do the gore, which obviously he's a fucking mastermind when it comes to that. So yeah, that one too. Now, number 5 is the original Evil Dead. Now, this movie is, as opposed to the comedic tone of the second and third one, this one is a lot more dark. It's a lot more dark, a lot gorier, a lot just a more intense movie in general. And like maybe it could have done without the tree raping scene, which is a bit iffy, especially for the time. But yeah, that's a great movie. So even the second one, it's awesome. Honestly, just fucking great movie. And Ash is a fucking badass. He's the only like protagonist of a movie that like isn't a horror movie, that isn't the villain. Like it's a very inspirational movie. It's fucking hard to believe that the director later went on to direct the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, which I also like. So yeah, great movie. Where were we? Number 6. Fuck. Oh, this is hard. A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. This movie again. Hold on a second. Let me get something to fit the mood. Here we go. This movie was honestly one of the most inspirational movies because it birthed one of, if not the best, and most famous horror villains of all time, Freddy Krueger. And it's sprouted countless sequels, only 2 of which I think are actually good. The number 3, The Dream Child, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Wes Craven was honestly a mastermind at these movies, and the Scream movies too, like that he made. He's a mastermind at all those movies, and fucking, I commend him at it. So yeah, that's that. Now next up, we're gonna go with Next up, we're gonna go with Sleepaway Camp. This movie is a fucking brilliant slasher. Slightly underrated. I've still got the glove on, but I don't really care. Slightly underrated, but still a fucking banger of a movie. I could fucking watch it a million times. And that ending where she's revealed to be a boy and her fucking cock's out and shit, and she's also revealed to be the killer, that shit was fucking amazing, and I did not expect it the first time I saw it. It's the only 80s slasher movie in the past couple of years that's actually, like, fucking... Like, that part of it, like, shocked me. It was like... It's an amazing movie. It should be more big, but it isn't, unfortunately. And that fucking pisses me off, I know. So, yeah. Sleepaway Camp. Next up we have is the original Child's Play. This was my first horror movie. My first ever horror movie. And fucking... I loved it at the time. I was obsessed with it. I was fucking 8 years old. I was 8 years old. It was a brilliant movie. I honestly loved it. Honestly, a great movie. Just a great movie. It's well made. It's a landmine in the horror genre, really. It's a slasher, but it's not as intense as the other slashers, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's a great movie. Now, next up we have is the original Scream. Okay, now this one's a classic. It started that whole meta horror kind of craze from the late 90s and early 2000s. I love that craze, even if it can get a bit cheesy. I might even prefer the movie Scary Movie to Scream, just because of how funny it is. But yeah, in terms of horror, I obviously prefer Scream, and the director of Nightmare on Elm Street directed this, Wes Craven, so I commend him for directing so many great horror movies. Anyways, and last on the list is the original Saw. Now this one is basically about a serial killer, I guess, called Jigsaw, that puts people that have sinned, rather, kind of, in traps and just to redeem themselves to escape, essentially. And it's spread out many sequels. It's advertised as torture porn, which I don't think is the right title at all, because I've seen the real torture porn, I guess you could say. But yeah, this is a great movie, and this came out, like I said before about Scream, when the whole meta horror craze was all big and shit. So basically, this came along and kind of killed that, and brought in, like, found footage movies and torture movies. So yeah, I commend it for that. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. See ya. Stay brutal.